Hey there, Chiefs fan. Let's kick things off with a name you'll want to remember. Omar Norman Lott. He might not be a household name yet, but if the early signs are right, he could quietly become a key piece for Kansas City's defensive front this season. Coming out of Tennessee, after transferring from Arizona State, Norman Lott didn't put up massive stats, but what he did show was raw strength, versatility, and the kind of motor defensive coordinators love. He's got that explosive first step, off the snap, and a knack for finding creases in the line. He plays with leverage, toughness, and he's not afraid to get into the dirty work in the trenches. That's exactly the kind of attitude Steve Spagnuolo wants in this defense. This isn't a scheme that asks linemen to just sit back and eat up space. Spags wants his guys attacking. Norman Lott might not start right away, but his skill set fits the Chiefs' hybrid fronts perfectly. He can shift between 1-tech and 3-tech depending on the down and distance. That flexibility alone makes him valuable in today's NFL. And let's be real, if you're a young D lineman coming into the league, there aren't many better mentors than Chris Jones. Norman Lott gets to learn from one of the best in the business. That's huge. It gives him the chance to grow his game and understand what it takes to succeed at the pro level. The question is, how fast can he adapt? This is where you come in. I want to hear what you think. Will Omar Norman Lott carve out a role in this defense by mid-season? Let me know in the comments. And while you're at it, time for a quick poll. Do you think he'll make the active 53-man roster out of camp? Vote yes or no right now. And hey, before we jump into Chris Jones and what his leadership means for this defense, make sure you're subscribed to the channel. We're pushing hard to hit 4,000 subscribers, and your support means a lot. Hit that bell, drop a like if you're pumped about our D-line, and let's keep this going. Let's be honest. When you talk about the Kansas City Chiefs defense, one name stands above the rest: Chris Jones. He's not just the best player on this side of the ball, he's the tone setter, the emotional core, and the guy who's been holding it down in the trenches for years. If Patrick Mahomes is the face of the franchise on offense, Chris Jones is the heartbeat of the defense. Jones has been a dominant force since entering the league, but what he's done the past 2 seasons takes things to another level. He's not just getting sacks, he's wrecking entire offensive game plans. Double-teamed, chipped, schemed against, doesn't matter. He finds a way to get home. His quickness off the line and his hand technique are elite, and his ability to shift across the line, whether he's playing inside or flexed out to rush from the edge, gives Spagnuolo maximum flexibility when calling plays. But here's the thing. It's not just about stats with Jones. He's a leader. Watch him. In the huddle. Watch how the younger guys gravitate toward him during practice. He brings energy, toughness, and a mindset that spreads through the entire unit. Guys like George Karlaftis and now Omar Norman Lott benefit tremendously just being around him. That mentorship matters. It's culture setting. Think back to last season. Every time the defense needed a big stop, who was in the middle of it? Chris Jones. He's clutch, plain and simple. Whether it's pushing the pocket, blowing up a run, or batting down a pass, he shows up when it counts. That's what separates good players from great ones. Jones has proven he's one of the best in the league. And the scary part? He's still in his prime. That brings us to a fan question. Where do you rank Chris Jones among the top defensive tackles in the NFL? Is he number 1? Top 3? Drop your rankings in the comments. I want to see how Chiefs Kingdom stacks him up against guys like Aaron Donald and Quinnen Williams. And let's run a quick poll. Is Chris Jones the most valuable non-QB on the Chiefs roster right now? Yes or no? Let me know what you think. Before we head into how this new-look D-line could function with both stars and rookies working together, remember to hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications. We're pushing for 4,000 subscribers, and your support makes a real difference. If you think Chris Jones deserves more national recognition, show him some love and smash that like button. Now that we've looked at Chris Jones's dominance and leadership, Let's talk about how Omar Norman Lott actually fits into this Chiefs defense, because fit matters just as much as talent in the NFL. Steve Spagnuolo runs a system that's all about controlled chaos. He wants pressure from everywhere. That means defensive linemen need to be smart, quick, and above all, adaptable. It's not enough to just bull rush or clog the middle. You have to know how to stunt, how to read protections, and how to rotate between gap responsibilities. And that's where Norman Lott's college experience comes into play. At Tennessee, he wasn't locked into just one technique. He moved along the line depending on matchups. That versatility is a huge plus in Spags' scheme. Imagine this: Chris Jones drawing double teams inside, Karlaftis or Felix Anudike-Uzomah coming off the edge, and Norman Lott sliding into the open lane. It's a setup that could create real problems for offensive lines, especially if Norman Lott picks up the playbook fast, and that's going to be the key. Can he get up to NFL speed mentally? The jump from college to pro is steep, especially on the defensive line. You're dealing with complex protections, fast-tempo offenses, and veteran QBs who'll exploit any hesitation. But the good news is Norman Lott doesn't need to be a starter right away. The Chiefs can rotate him in slowly, early downs, specific packages, short yardage situations, and let him build confidence. There's also the possibility of pairing him with Mike Pennell or Tershawn Wharton in heavier fronts. That would allow him to focus more on gap control while learning the nuances of the pro game from vets around him. And let's be real, iron sharpens iron. Practicing every day against Creed Humphrey and Joe Thuney, that's going to get him ready fast. So here's a question for you. Which defensive package do you think would best suit Norman Lott? Base 4-3, nickel, or maybe even a hybrid front with 5 down linemen? Drop your thoughts in the comments. Also, time to vote again. Will Omar Norman Lott be a starter by midseason? Yes or no? Be bold. I'll be reading through the replies. Before we move on to the bigger picture, how all this depth shapes the Chiefs' defensive line, hit that subscribe button and help us push to 4,000 subs. And if you like seeing us break down the strategy behind the moves, smash that like button so we keep the good stuff coming. All right, let's zoom out for a second. We've talked about Chris Jones. We've talked about Omar Norman Lott. But the real story here is depth. And if you're a Chiefs fan, you've got to feel pretty good about what's taking shape on this defensive line heading into the season. Think about what Brett Veach and Steve Spagnuolo have been doing over the past few years. They've slowly but surely built a rotation that's not just talented, but also versatile and young. You've got guys like George Karlaftis and Felix Anudike-Uzomah coming into their own. Charles Omenihu brings power and flexibility. Mike Dana has become a reliable contributor, and now you're adding a rookie like Norman Lott into the mix. This isn't just about starters anymore. This is about wave after wave of pressure. Spags wants guys he can rotate without seeing a drop-off. That's how you stay fresh in the fourth quarter. That's how you beat teams like Buffalo and Cincinnati in the playoffs, by winning in the trenches late in the game. And with this kind of depth, Kansas City might have one of the most complete defensive fronts in the league. Now, look at the potential combinations. On passing downs, you can throw out a front four of Karlaftis, Jones, Omenihu, and Dana. That's speed and power across the board. On early downs, you bring in someone like Pennell to plug the run, maybe rotate in Norman Lott to get reps without pressure. And in short yardage or goal line situations, you could even go 5 across, crowd the line, and just dare teams to try to move the ball. It's not just about bodies, it's about strategy. Spagnuolo loves to disguise pressure, and having the right pieces lets him play that chess match. The more guys you can trust to execute, the more creative he can get with his blitzes, stunts, and disguised coverages. So here's what I want to know from you. Which defensive lineman outside of Chris Jones are you most excited to watch this year? Drop the name in the comments and tell me why. And here's the vote. Do you believe this is the Deepest D-line the Chiefs have had during the Mahomes era? Yes or no? Let's see what the Kingdom thinks. If you're enjoying the breakdown and want to help us keep building this channel, hit that subscribe button right now. We're grinding toward 4,000 subscribers, and your support really fuels the content. Also, give this video a like if you believe in this defensive unit's potential to dominate all season long. Now let's wrap things up by looking at what this all means for the season ahead, and why the Norman Lott addition could pay off in the biggest moments. All right, let's zoom out a bit. When you look at the Kansas City Chiefs defensive line right now, it's not just about Chris Jones or a promising rookie like Omar Norman Lott. It's about the overall depth. And depth, my friend, wins games late in the season. One of the smartest things Brett Veach and Steve Spagnuolo have done is build a defensive front that goes beyond just having top-tier starters. They've been intentional about stacking the line with talent, versatility, and youth. Think about the names: George Karlaftis, Felix Anudike-Uzomah, Charles Omenihu, Mike Dana, Tershawn Wharton, Derek Nottie, and now Norman Lott. That's a rotation, not just a starting unit. This depth means Spags can keep guys fresh all game long. When your pass rush doesn't drop off after the starters come out, you wear teams down. That's how you get big stops in the fourth quarter. That's how you pressure guys like Joe Burrow and Josh Allen when it matters most. And it gives Spags flexibility. On 3rd and long, you can bring in a fast package with Karlaftis and Omenihu on the edge, Jones and Wharton inside. Need to stop the run? Plug in Nottie and Norman Lott to clog up the middle. Want to throw something exotic at a young quarterback? Spags can do that too. Stunts, twists, blitz packages, because he trusts the depth to execute. It's a smart strategy. Having a rotation like this also protects against injuries. No team gets through a full NFL season without a few guys going down. The difference between contenders and pretenders, it's how your backups perform. Kansas City's building a D-line room where backups aren't just bodies, they're contributors. Here's a question for you. Which of these depth pieces do you think will have the biggest breakout year? Karlaftis, Dana, maybe even Norman Lott? Let me know who you're betting on. And for the vote, is this the deepest D-line group the Chiefs have had in the Mahomes era? Yes or no? If you're liking this in-depth look at the defense, show your support by hitting that subscribe button. We're chasing 4,000 subs, and every click helps. Tap that like button, too, if you believe the Chiefs' defense is being slept on this offseason. Up next, what all of this means for the season ahead and why the Norman Lott signing could end up being a sneaky good move by year's end.